Hello and welcome back to the Gold Newsletter channel. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the JR Mining guy on Twitter and the CEO of the SOAR Financial Group, and of course, your host of this program, together with our good friend Brien Lundin. And we're hosting company interviews and company introductions here on this channel. I'm really excited to introduce a new company to this channel today. And the reason we're doing it today is a bit of a break. It's because of news. The company had news out this morning, and it was time to introduce the company on this channel and follow up on the news because they announced their drill program on the Santa Ana project in Colombia, and we're joined by the president and CEO of the company. It is none other than Ian Harris. And Ian, it is great to see you again. We just saw each other at PDAC, so welcome to the Gold Newsletter channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kai. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Ian, let's jump right in. It's the first time on the channel, so we do have to set the scene a little bit. We have to introduce the company first before we talk about the news that came out this morning. Why don't you give us a quick introduction of the company, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics.
Perfect. So I'm joining you here from sunny Medellin, and I'm just saying that just to make some people jealous because this is really the city of eternal spring. But as background, and I think the best way to synthesize why Outcrop is, getting a lot of attention is that it's one of the few high-grade primary silver projects in the world. Right? There's just not very many of them. Right? They're just that list keeps getting shorter and shorter. Some say they're silver, but when you look in the deep depths of it, they're not. We're looking at almost 75% of our value is in silver. The rest is in gold. Our flagship project is in Colombia. And last year we put out our first initial resource, about 38 million ounces. The indicated grade at over 460 true silver grams per ton, so extremely high grade, one of the highest grade projects in the world. And we're getting close to really making a significant change from that starting point of where we want to go, with a demonstrable ability to greatly increase that resource, and also some very exciting information around our recoveries and also potential payables on the project.
No, fantastic. That was a really good introduction, Ian. I really appreciate that. Just gives us all, on the same level before we dive into, the project specifics here. And our audience knows the second question I like to ask is capital structure. You just closed the financing as well, so this is quite timely. Give us an update. What does that look like?
So we have a little bit over 200 million shares out, and now about 90 million warrants. The majority is retail in the project. 12% is management and directors. 14% is Eric Sprott personally. And so I think we're getting up above our 15 cents. And I can give a little bit of a background on that. We really made some hard decisions at the end of last year to change out our drill contractor due to some performance and accuracy issues. But we took that time. We knew it would hurt to be able to do what we're doing today with our announcement on our upcoming drilling and trying to access some of the areas that we wanted to really get into to drive the overall story of the project. I'm happy to dive into that a little bit more in a bit.
Yeah, let's dive into the financing first, because that was the last press release you sort of published, was the completion of a financing, which you pretty much opened and closed rather quickly. So run us through that financing. What were the terms? Like, who came in? I'm also trying to get a bit of a sense of investor sentiment asking that question.
Yeah, we got some key lead orders. I don't want to, name drop without everybody's permission, but we had some significant lead orders that came in that made the financing go extremely quickly. It's a 15% unit with a full warrant. But really, the timing really came about, I think, because of the compelling story of what we're going to be doing in this next phase of drilling. And it's going to be supporting that drilling that's right now we're currently mobilizing and have a significant plan for 2024.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're going to touch on that in a second, because I just need to set the scene on Santa Ana just a bit more, so we know what you will actually be drilling and not just blind targeting something, of course, right? So catch us up on Santa Ana. We'll talk use of proceeds of that financing in a second, but tell us about Santa Ana. What's so significant about it? You mentioned, of course, the exceptionally high silver grades, but what are you looking at? What's the size of the prize there, Ian?
Okay, so let me just give a little bit of a backdrop of what Santa Ana looks like. We have basically an 18-kilometer corridor of multiple veins in an area that's been historically a silver mining district since the colonial times of Spain, right? I think there was a time where I think 20% of the gold, silver that went to Spain actually came out of this area. Uh, and so since colonial times, it's been a classic silver district. And last year we put out a resource of about 38 million ounces of silver, very high grade, but it's almost all in the northeastern portion. Actually, all of it is in the northeastern portion of that overall corridor. So it's always a difficult decision when you put out a resource because many people just say, oh, that's all they've got. It might go up 10%. But I think it was important in this case because when you have such high grades, people want to make sure that they can see it in a resource and that it's holding together. But once that resource is out, we've now shifted the overall strategy. The other thing, I'm a mining engineer, right? So Joe, who's now a director, was the original discoverer and CEO of the company to make this all happen. But I also get excited about last year. We also did some significant mineralogical test work and metallurgy. And it's a very special deposit because we did flotation only and ended up doing the detailed closed circuit flotation and had 93% recovery in silver. But which is fantastic with just flotation alone. But the other thing that's really special about the project is that it produces a very high grade precious metal concentrate. So in our case, our silver is a sulfide, so it actually floats. So it's not floating with a zinc or a lead or a pyrite or something and creating a sulfide concentrate. You're actually creating a precious metal concentrate. And I've been saying and been walking around for 6 months telling everybody it's so high grade you could smelt it directly. And we actually took that concentrate and actually smelted it and produced. And I was running around PDAC with our little mini doré bar to prove that you can really take this. And why is that important? It's because if silver's in a zinc concentrate, you really don't get paid what you think. Sometimes it's 60, 70, 75% of your silver value you're getting paid for. You don't get paid for it. But in a doré bar or as a high grade precious metal concentrate, as doré, you can get paid 98 to 99%. So I love this fact that we have extremely high grade, very high recoveries, and the potential to have a very high payable. I call it the trifecta. Because what it does, it allows you to decouple a project from scale. And that makes it so strategically, there's lots of things that we can now do to move this project forward. So all those things together, I think, is kind of where we've been sitting up to the date. And now we're financed to be able to go into our next vision of our strategy.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, you mentioned you have a 36 million ounce silver resource here already. Ian, explain a little bit more, like what went into that resource? Like what kind of work have you done on the project so far? You mentioned metallurgy, of course, but in terms of exploration work, like how many meters have been drilled and what does your targeting look like?
Yeah, so we have about 30,000 meters into the program. And that first initial resource was really around 6 different veins. Okay, it was actually 7, but one was a very small contributor. It was just kind of an initial resource on it. What's really interesting is that each one of those individual veins contributed individually a large portion of the resource. The highest individually was about 6 million of those ounces came from, but each one of them was contributing several million ounces. And why is that important? Because it's only on 6, and we've already identified and have drill-ready targets. When I say drill-ready, it means that we've mapped it at surface, we've done channel sampling, or we've done trenching to be able to get the grades at surface that says that it's the kind of grades we'd like to see and the silver content we'd like to see. We have a total of 22 targets today. So just alone, you can see that there's this pathway of being able to dramatically increase the potential, dramatically increase the resource size.
No, fantastic. Awesome. Ian, it's taken us 10 minutes to get to the news that came out today, but we really need to set the scene. Otherwise, we'll just be, shooting blind here. And our investors, of course, watching this interview would be maybe potentially lost, right? So we really wanted to set the scene here because you just announced your drill plan for 2024 here at Santa Ana. Run us through that a little bit. Like, where are you planning now to put the drill and what's the focus for this year?
I think we had a really quick conversation in Toronto. I love having things that I don't have to go into big explanations. Like I love having that little bar of silver because it proves you can do it, right? And that's the thing about Santa Ana. We have the very 18-kilometer long corridor, and the majority of that resource, I keep saying that, all the resource is up in the northeast corner of that overall trend. So what we want to do with this drill program is to take very large step outs along that corridor. And our plan is we are now starting activities on targets that we know where we can increase along strike, or areas that didn't have enough drill holes to be included in the RAS resource. While we're setting up the logistics, we now have access to get to the very large step to get to the middle of that overall corridor, like 9 kilometers down. And the very last target is pretty much on the southern extreme of the project, because I want it to be very easy for people to understand where this thing can go from a 38 million ounce and easily get over that 100 million ounce number, which I think is a very important psychological. So we're really developing a pathway of demonstrating where this resource will grow. We're taking big step outs and looking at being able to convert these targets into true discoveries. And in discovery, I'm talking about an individual vein discovery, so that we can know that people understand, oh, now that it's gotten to this, there's a high chance that it will be converted into a future resource. So I think that's the easiest way for us to be able to create value. It's not just from individual drill results. We've seen, we have a very much a drill type mentality and drill result type mentality in our industry. But I think we can create more value by being able to demonstrate how much larger this resource can get and be able to show that clearly.
Can you summarize for us, like how many holes, how many meters are you planning as well, and of course, when's the start of the drill campaign?
So we're currently mobilizing and getting crews together and getting some of the logistics, but we look to be starting April 1st. The other nice thing about this is there's a very quick turnaround, so we hope to start generating our news flow off of this drilling very quickly. We can literally get results sometimes within days. In Colombia, it's one of the advantages. And so with that drill, we're looking at doing on, because it's the shorter and there's lots of moves. This is a pretty aggressive program. These are man portable drills of doing a little under 1,000 meters a month. So we hope to get up to 8,000 meters this year. But our goal here is that once the drill starts turning, it just keeps on turning. So we have lots of work, lots of targets. So we don't see any reason why, once this drill is turned back on, that it won't just be continuing to work on the asset.
Ian, maybe just to follow up on the original question here on targeting as well, like what is guiding the drill campaign? Of course, you're saying you want to step out along the length of the mineralization here, but what is driving that? Just flipping through your presentation, of course, you've identified some targets based on just the results that you've had in the past, but I know there's a few, like the name escaped me here, El Dorado, for example. Like where could that be? Like, and how'd you target that?
So El Dorado is a proven, I hate to use the word discovery loosely, but it's the vein has now proven that it's got an economic type grades coming out of it. And so we're starting literally taking some larger jumps along strike to show that resource can continue. But our real goal, our next step is, if you look at our map, it's in the center of that corridor, Aguilar. And why Aguilar? Because it's never been drilled. We have mapped, it's about 1.8 kilometer overall strike at surface. It's showing the grades. We have the channel sampling. We have the trench sampling. It holds, some of our trench sampling was up to 5 kilos per ton at surface, but it's also very long strength, and it's in the center. So to target, right, we've done the mapping at surface. We've done the trenching, we've done the channel sampling. It's a high confident target, and now it's ready to be proven through drilling. So we're really going to be putting some individual holes at the top of the strike, at the middle of the strike, and the bottom of the strike, so that people can basically say, I can see how this can be converted to a resource. And the last target is what's called Los Mangos, which is at the southern extreme of the project. It looks like it's in a corner, but we actually have the application for the other title. We have that tied up. It just has to be converted from an application to a title. But it's actually one of the areas that showed some of the highest grades of any of the sampling that we've done, up to 9 kilos of silver equivalent at surface. So again, we have the vein mapped, we have the channel sampling done, we've done our homework. So it's only a question is how does it behave below surface?
Absolutely. Ian, a bit of an unfair question for you. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Which one is your favorite target? I know you shouldn't have favorite children, but which one is your favorite?
Luckily, I'm an agnostic mining engineer, right? So my favorite targets are the ones that create the most resource that are mineable. That is my number one overall goal on a project. I want to see not just ounces, I want to see ounces that I can mine. And it's a toss up for me right now. I'm very excited about Aguilar because of its overall strike length, which means it can contribute a significant amount to the overall project. And the other one, but is Mangos, just because it's got some really eye-watering grades that right? It's pretty simple, right? It costs you X amount of dollars to take it out of the ground, X amount of dollars to process it. So it's a question of grade, recovery, and you're payable. So higher grade means a higher chance of having an economic project, and that's very exciting for me. So it's hard, but I do like the two targets that we picked this year, and also because I think if we can prove those up, show the results, we can also demonstrate to market how that this has a considerable room to grow. Right, which is a big part of what we want to do.
Absolutely. Run us a bit through the timeline now for Outcrop as well. Of course, you're starting drilling now. You put out a resource last year. So, like, what are the next bigger catalysts or milestones in terms of resource update, maybe even PEA? I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not even going to mention PFS or FS because it's still early days here. But what are some of the next milestones? Are you going to update the resource later this year?
I'm going to talk like big box, okay? Because as you know, market dictates a lot, and we are always willing to adjust quickly our strategy based on how market is performing, right? And as 75% of our value is silver, we've obviously highly leveraged to whatever happens in the silver space, either silver price or silver equities, right? So that could change things dramatically very quickly in the number of drills that we have, et cetera. But let's just say, based on what we have today, where do I think we can create value? We're mobilizing. We'll be starting drilling in the first days of April. So that means that we'd be putting out consistent news flow on our drilling. I think it's fair to say by May, we'll be putting out our drilling. We really like our targets. Next step is we're actually updating our metallurgical test work, because although 93% is great, it's flotation only. So we're doing a combination of gravity, because some of our silver actually is in native form, to see if we can get even a better recovery off of our work. And at the same time, I think that by the end of the season, we won't be in a place that we could do an updated resource, but I want to take very large jumps in our updates of our resource. So probably it's not going to be until next year we do an updated resource. And if we look at the overall project, I really want to get it over 100 million ounces. I think the potential of the project is even further than that. But that's kind of a nice round box in this space right now, where psychologically it's very important, and then its value, you can start seeing it in working a preliminary economic assessment. But we're not stopping there. The other thing that I think it's very important on this project, when you have high grade, high recovery, high payable, right? And I talked about decoupling of scale, right? I'd like to be able to prove that to market too. We are looking at doing probably something that's very pilot-ish, working together with the local community. That's something very, very small scale, but get something up and running. Maybe it's a kind of, we're looking right now at an innovation, the ability to produce doré without cyanide, but it also can demonstrate a pathway of how we could get a project into production, because some of the largest projects in Colombia today, right? If you look at Marmato, if you look at Baritica, if you look at some of these other projects, right? They started at a scale and then they scaled up, right? It's because when you're working on these types of vein systems, it's all about working faces anyways. So get the permits, get things up and running, work on your expansions, work on your number of faces that you're operating is a very viable way to advance a project in Colombia.
No, absolutely. No, fantastic. Really, really good overview. I think you answered like all of my questions in that, in your answer there. Last question. How are you 2 million employees doing?
How to have 2 million? Did you say 2 million?
Yeah, it's like I saw the 2 million pollinating bees are working for Outcrop there. So in the slides, or the part of the the community, I was going to introduce you as like you got 2 million employees here. Thought that was an interesting number.
Really
so.
worker bees. Well, I love these types of projects because we haven't talked about something. I mean, of my 25 years, 15 are working and living in Colombia. Living in South America. I was previously senior VP of Corriente and in-country manager, and took that project Mirador into the start of construction. It went on to be the first industrial scale project in the history of Ecuador. And I took that experience away. If I said, what is the most important thing for a project? It's your relationships locally, because there at the end of the day was what drive a project through. So I don't like creating projects, say, hey, you know what would be a good idea? But I like working with the local groups and say, what do you want? Right. And this was something that was very important to them to work on these bee projects. And there was a guy behind it who was very passionate about it and the importance of it. And this little project right within Falan is actually now in the development plan for the Department of Tolima, right, where they want to take the same project and reproduce it in other departments. So we're very proud of that accomplishment because when you can find passion, you find that desire, and you help give it some gas underneath it, right? Not because I'm an engineer, I think really smart and you should do this, right? It's because there's already a passion that exists within that community, and it benefits. It shows a greater benefit that we can work and cooperate together with our local partners.
Absolutely. No, Ian, you should bring some of the honey you were producing there at with the local community to Deutsche Goldmesse and call it just Outcrop Gold. I think that'd be a perfect name for it, and just bring that out. I think that'd be a great marketing tool and a great way to show off your community work. So
I thought of it because last time I was in Frankfurt, I was sitting at a bar and they had these little jars of, I think they were like this teeny, and they were like 20 euros. I was like, wow, we need to get some Tolima honey up there. But really, it's about the pollinators. It's not so much about the honey. It's really about the pollinators to support the agricultural base in the area.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. Ian, it was a fantastic, introduction. Like we didn't dive too deep into the geology or any of that, but it was a really good overview. And of course, it's great to see you guys kicking off a drill program here now as well. I'm sure we'll be catching up again very, very soon. And of course, you'll be joining us in Frankfurt in a few short weeks here to present to our investor audience at the Deutsche Goldmesse. I'm really looking forward to that again. And can't wait to welcome you in Frankfurt. So
thanks again.
Fantastic. Awesome. Ian, thank you so much. And everybody else, I hope you found this interview useful and insightful, of course, as well. And as always, the same question I mentioned every single time. Did you like the questions that we asked? Did you like the answers? Please leave a comment down below or DM us. You can find me on Twitter, on X, or just send here a note on YouTube as well. We want to hear from you. These interviews are for you to educate you about the companies that we're introducing, and we want to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for joining us for this company update, and we'll be back with lots more here on the Gold Newsletter channel. Thank you so much.